Hey, everybody, welcome to Blue Jay Banner, sponsored by Infusion Brewing Company, West Pacific Dental Group, BlueJayBanner.com, and RTI Threads. Back with us, Ross Ferrarini. Hey, Ross, haven't seen you forever.
Yeah. I don't think we've even debriefed from the NCAA tournament at all.
No, no, I was going to say the whole tournament went by, man.
Yeah,
Well,
I got
we'll have
my
plenty of time to do that today. We got lots to talk about, obviously. First, I just want to give a shout out to RTI Threads. They have they have great Creighton products. So if you're looking for baseball, women's basketball, men's basketball, they have women's basketball specific um, merchandise. Go to rtithreads.com, check them out. You'll really be glad you did. And hey, they got some great sales on caps, perfect for the baseball season. So check it out. All right. Well, kind of a shocker with Coach Moose stepping down, huh?
yeah that I can't believe that happened. I mean, that came out of left field. I mean, obviously, I'm not privy to anything like inside that's going on. I have no idea. It just seemingly came out of left field for everybody. I mean, she just built that program into a behemoth. I mean, since she took it over, so it's shocking to see that she's not at the helm anymore.
Yeah. 502 wins in 22 years. Think about that.
It's a lot.
That's
That's a lot. Yeah.
that's a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, there, nowadays it's just everything's a conspiracy and a rumor, and
Yeah.
when she explained what the whole process was and what she wanted to do, it makes total sense. She's been very involved nationally in volleyball. She was the head of the ABCA, which is the Coaches Association for Volleyball. She's been on a lot of Zoom calls with promoting volleyball around the country at all levels. So when the opportunity and in chatting offline a little bit with Marcus a little bit too, he said, schools come after her all the time. And, she's got such a good thing going here. She doesn't want to leave Omaha and she's got a great program. Why would she leave? Right. And
Right.
the other thing is then other outside entities come after her in the volleyball world. And so he knew that, she was, as she mentioned today, she hit kind of a milestone this year with 50 years old. And she just thought, if I'm going to do something else, this is the time to do it. I'd like to watch my daughters play college volleyball. I'd like to watch them in their high school games and so forth. And this job allows her to stay in Omaha. If you haven't heard, she's going to be an administrator. They don't know the total role yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be a big time role in League One volleyball, which is the one you've seen. I know it's confusing to people, but the one it's the LOVB one, that that section, and I think they've got a lot of money. I think they're going to really grow it. This year was kind of like a trial, and I think to her question I asked her was about her vision, and she goes, I just haven't had time to even think about what all I want to do, but she goes, I know I don't think there's any reason why we can't get to a professional level where those games are on TV. All the games are on TV at
Wait, so is
some.
that the same league as the Supernovas, or is that a
No,
different league?
that's the other league. So
This is my issue though, Tim. That sport for how it listen, it has grown in popularity a lot, and especially at the college level. I think, especially in the NCAA tournament, a lot of people enjoy, myself included, enjoy watching the NCAA tournament in volleyball. I could not have said that a decade ago. So the sport is definitely moving in the right direction. Having said that, it is not big enough to support two separate professional leagues. And so I don't know. I don't know enough, but they need to figure that out. There needs to be one professional league.
she did address that today, and she said absolutely. She said there's got to be a consolidation of leagues. So I think that's probably. I'm just guessing here, but I'm sure that's one high on her list, right? Is to all right, let's get these two leagues together. Let's make one really awesome league. If she can get that done, then she's just going to skyrocket. And I think that's what she wants to do. And I know the AVCA has reached out to her to kind of do stuff with them. She is still going to do fundraising for Creighton. I don't know that she wants to really leave Omaha. That sounded pretty important to her. So I
Mhm.
don't think, if you're thinking, oh, she's going to go take another coaching job, and maybe she will at some point, but I don't think so. I think once especially if she's out of it for a few years, I don't think she is. And she also talked a lot about today about the process and that, she did a lot of negotiations. This has only been like a 2-week deal where they came to her, and then she wanted to make sure the first thing she wanted to make sure that this program was going to be, stay the way it is. And her pick was Brian because she knew Angie did not want to be a head coach. She's made that very clear. So her next, the guy she wanted was Brian in that role. And fortunately, Marcus had the foresight early on this season to see, hey, maybe Booth is going to take a job. Hey, he's getting a lot of job offers. If I want to keep him, I've got to really start watching him. So then Marcus was bought in on the idea. So it was very easy to get that bought in. But then it was back on Booth's plate, and she had to work out things with the Love Be Volleyball. So I think she's a pretty smart cookie. And I don't think she's going to sign on for something that wasn't a really good deal and something that she didn't think would take off. And like she said, hey, I tell my players all the time when they, reach out to me when they get a job offer or whatever, I say, hey, if you're not nervous about it, it's probably not challenging enough for you. So she goes, yeah, I'm nervous about it, but I'm have confidence.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, but Brian's a guy, I think everything's going to go very smoothly. He recruited all these players. I mean, he is a outstanding recruiter. And he's really gotten into the transfer portal in volleyball and has really become an expert in that area too. And now Creighton's got to such a stature, number 6 in the country at the end of the year last year, that, hey, that part of it, growing it, is done. Now you just got to sustain it and maybe move forward and try and get that Final Four. So congratulations, Brian Rosen. He's the new volleyball coach, and Brian really wants to be here too. Like, he's from the South, and he said today, he goes, me and my wife, we never wanted to come to the Midwest. We got here, it was cold, and it was like, oh my God. And we weren't here too long, and my wife goes, I don't ever want to leave. This is where I want to be. So at that point, he knew in his career that he really wanted to, get this Creighton job if he could. And so this is, it's one thing if a coach doesn't want to be here, but he wants to be here. So that's the big deal as well. So congratulations to both people. I'm really excited for Booth. I know she's really kind of edged into that administrative part of sports lately. So I think this is something she wants to do. And hey, 22 years is a long time to coach.
Yeah.
Especially with family.
Let's get one place.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And they both said that about their spouses. Like, my gosh, you have no idea what they have to go through. So congratulations there. Hey, before we jump into men's hoops a little bit, we're going to talk about West Pacific Dental Group. Dr. Hogan and his staff do such a terrific job. He's a longtime sponsor of Blue Jay Banner and a longtime supporter of Blue Jay Athletics. So whether you have a dental emergency or just need a checkup or need a new dentist, go to West Pacific Dental Group. They will give you compassionate care and consult you on every move you make in the whole process. So give them a call, 402-697-0765, 402-697-0765. They're my dentists. They take care of me outstanding. So check them out. It's West Pacific Dental Group. All right, Ross. Well, according to many people, and I think 24/7 is the one who had this, had to wash my mouth off with soap, being a Rivals guy saying that, but I think they've listed Creighton as the number 2 portal transfer. Their class is number 2 in the country, which blows me away, really. Who would have thought that we would be in a day and age where we could do that? Now it helps. It helps that a lot of the big boys are at the NCAA tournament playing. They're probably not focused on it. But at any rate, I know a lot of the services had Freeman ranked very high and Dick's really ranked up there. So that helped a lot right there. So let's just start with the guy that people probably don't know as much about, Nick Graves.
Yeah, Charlotte has really kind of fallen on hard times, that program. It's so people might, I don't know how people know this. That's where Bryce Williams came from at Nebraska. And I remember, it's funny, when I was a kid, Charlotte was a pretty darn good mid-major program, and they haven't really had much success over the past number of years. But
Graves is a guy he can fill it up a little bit. I mean, you go look at his profile. I mean, he had a number of games where he scored over 20 points and a couple of games in the 30s. I mean, he had 32, 32 at East Carolina. 31 against Murray State last year. I mean, this is a guy that can do a whole bunch of different things. He's an okay 3-point shooter. I mean, it's not something he's elite at by any stretch. I mean, he only shot 33% from three last year, so obviously that's going to be a number that we would hope increases quite a bit coming into next year. But as far as his assist to turnover ratio is high. I don't pretend to be an expert on Charlotte basketball, so I haven't watched a ton of film on him. Just seen obviously some highlights and stuff, but I certainly like his profile of player, especially at the point guard position, and somebody at 6'3" that's for as good as Steven was for us. Obviously Steven was a little bit undersized at that position. It's not a secret. Nick Graves is he provides a little bit more size there.
Yeah. And we don't want to get too much into roster construction. Some people I've seen do that. All the projected starting lineup, I'm like, you've got people on there you're not even sure are going to be at Creighton next year. So let's slow the roll a little. I've been a firm believer, and a lot of people are upset, like they want a really flashy point guard and so on and so forth. I said, we've got a point guard on our roster who is a freshman who didn't get a lot of opportunities because of Steven. But he showed a confidence. He showed that the stage wasn't too big for him. I think he didn't get enough minutes to kind of play through the freshman mistakes sometimes, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's very, very capable and a guy that could really improve in the offseason. So I don't think this is necessarily Nick Graves' job or necessarily it's Tyler's job. I think Ty's job. I think they're both going to battle for that starting position, and I think competition's good.
No, I'm with you. And, obviously Ty, the main thing that Ty needs to work on and he needs to improve on, going into next year is he's got to become more of a threat to shoot the basketball.
Yes.
And he didn't have a ton of opportunities this past year. Obviously, he was kind of playing spot minutes. And you do like a lot of the rest of Ty's game. I think he's got a good feel. He plays really hard. He's willing to get guys involved, kind of a true point guard in that sense. But at the end of the day, like the way the game is gone, you got to be able to be a threat from the 3-point line. And so I think that's the biggest thing in Ty's development over the offseason to see if he can potentially battle Nick for that top spot at point.
Totally agree. And I think that's some Ty knows too. And I say this a ton and people just roll their eyes, but in practice Ty does knock down a fair amount of shots. It's just converting that into the game mode, and we've talked ad nauseum about many players over the last few years that's the case.
Yep.
But that was a good piece because we needed somebody, and Nick is kind of a combo too. I think he plays a lot of two guard as well, so that kind of fills that role. And then our first really big strong, we made a strong move right off the get-go to Owen Freeman out of Iowa. Obviously, we need somebody with Kalkbrenner leaving, and then surprisingly, Fred leaving as well. We needed somebody in that middle, and I think we got a good one there with Owen Freeman.
Yeah, Owen is a very, very skilled big. He didn't play kind of the last half of the year for Iowa with an injury, but really at his size and his skill level is a very nice player to have at the 5. Obviously, again, he's a guy that kind of like Nick Graves, you like to see probably improve a little bit from the 3-point line to be that threat. And, he hasn't shot a lot of them. Really didn't shoot any of them his freshman year. He shot a little bit more this past year before he got hurt. But, that was something that we saw Kalk really develop this past year. Kalk was not a dead-eye 3-point shooter by any stretch, but he became capable. And so that just opens up the floor so much more because you have that opposing big. You don't want them just sitting in the paint. You want them to be able to come out and guard, and it just opens up spacing. So, Freeman and obviously, I'm sure you're getting to Josh Dix here. Josh Dix was a really, really talented player. I mean, his game has really exploded. I remember I saw him in high school a couple of times in a couple of AAU events, and I really, really liked his game. And he's really grown a little bit more. He's matured into his body, become a little bit more physical and athletic, and has really developed into a nice player. And especially, in the Big Ten, he had some pretty big games last year. For an Iowa team that was kind of finding its way a little bit, had some injuries. Really struggled on the defensive end of the floor. The whole team did, but I think Dix is a guy that very seamlessly transfers into our program, and I think Owen Freeman with his skill level does too.
Yeah, I got a question about Freeman for you, Ross. Not so much about him, but in general. Do you think that will give us more flexibility? And I'm not saying we're going to change our defense philosophy or not, but I just think it maybe it'll give us more flexibility with our defensive coverage, like that drop coverage. You'll see us maybe not. Would you go along with me on that? That maybe we won't see that
maybe.
exclusively this year.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, a lot of people have sort of made this joke a little bit. I mean, it's hard to really know for sure, just because Iowa was so poor defensively, and that they have been for a few years now, that it honestly it gives you a little bit of pause of like, geez, can we ramp these guys up, like to try and play at the intensity that we want to play at, on the defensive end of the floor. Excuse me.
Bless you.
But ultimately, yes, that would be the hope. I mean, if you could have somebody who, okay, if you're not quite as big as Kalkbrenner, but you're a little bit more mobile, and a little bit more physical and strong, and there's trade-offs. Okay, maybe you're not as good of a shot blocker as Kalk, but you're able to hedge ball screens, and you're able to trap ball screens, and just do a little bit something other than just strictly drop coverage, which obviously we were very good at because of Kalk. But it just, to your point, it allows you to get some other looks. But I mean, again, can you get a guy like Owen Freeman, who's been in a program that has not prioritized the defensive end of the floor, to really buy into that end of the floor? That's going to be fascinating for me to kind of find out.
Yeah. And again, there's what I tell everybody, trust Mac, right? He hasn't led you wrong yet. I'm sure he went over that when they looked at these players and said, yeah, I think we can convert him to what we want to do, or we can't convert X player to what we want to do. So we still have, according to my tally here, we've got another scholarship. So we certainly need probably another backup center of some way, shape, or form, whether it's a transfer from a D2 or lower level D1 level.
We got this
What's that?
Alexa. Well, who's the guy we got today? Isn't he coming this year, or is he coming next year?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was thinking about I'm sorry. Yes. So that was great news too. So yeah, he'll join. So that was one thing that the staff was looking at was, with those Europeans, as we found out, how long does it take them to get eligible if they play pro ball? I think that was the worry there. And the fact that he's going to join now is huge. I still think, you probably, I don't know where they're going to go with anything else they want to look at here, but I think they're pretty much filled up according to my tally on scholarships now, unless we have somebody, leave later on, and that happens too. The portal's open for a while. People leave later on, get an offer, and then decide to go.
Very true.
So that's not, it's not a done deal. You can't just assume. But anyway, I think overall, I think this is going to be a pretty strong class. Now, I've heard people say, "Oh my God, we're going to be top 10." I go, "Whoa, slow the roll here. We've got a lot of development and a lot of pieces to put together." When you had Kalk and Ashworth, who were two great leaders, leave, that leaves a real leadership hole.
Yeah, it's not as easy to rebuild that as people might think. But no, there's still obviously some continuity there. I mean, that you still have Jason Green, has been in the program a long time now. Obviously Jackson's coming back, and you have Ty, and I'm hoping we'll get good news on Fedor. I think that's kind of the $1 million question right now. My understanding is Fedor wants to come back. I don't know. I think everybody doesn't seem to know what the deal is with the eligibility again next year. So hopefully there's no issues with that. That would be perfect, best case scenario, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so weird. Like season ends and you think, okay, we can take a breath, and you're watching the NCAA tournament, the rest of it and everything. And then so much happens like in Creighton athletics in like 2 days, really, it's like nuts. Like Alexia, the word kind of went out around 1 o'clock today, and I'd already slipped through my mind. Like I'm so wrapped up in the volleyball thing and everything else that's going on that it's crazy. But back to Vidor, yeah, we've Austin and I have talked about this a little bit, and it's a year-to-year deal, which is what, as far as his eligibility goes, which I did not know. But apparently it's a year-to-year deal. So the NCAA has to rule again.
Which is so stupid to me. It's just
It is. It is. And I know a lot of people are upset about it. But on the other hand, I mean, he did play a ton of professional games. It's not like Alexia. I don't know what the number is, but I know he hasn't played that many games.
But like everybody, I think everybody with a brain at this point is like, who cares? These kids are getting paid millions of dollars to play college basketball. What's the difference?
Yeah. I mean, but the difference is you did that first. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get it. But, so we'll just have to see. Coach Miller at one of our events talked about, hey, they've got a lawyer involved in this that Fedor has that's as good as it gets with this European and eligibility thing. So let's just see what happens. I don't, certainly want to have him. It would certainly give us tons of depth in our wing position, whether he starts or doesn't start or what have you. But you've got a lot of options. Let's put it that way. A lot of options.
Yeah. No, I would. I mean, Fedor really, really came on at the end of the year there and gave our team just an extra something that I don't think we had kind of mid-season, and he just gave an extra scoring option, obviously, and versatility on that end. And I think at his size for a wing, he's just got the ability to score and affect the game in a lot of different ways. I was really, really, really high on him by the end of the year, and would love to see him back with no issues.
Yeah, he's a guy that can get to the hole, as he showed. That's one thing with Ty too. Ty obviously has to improve shooting, but he could, when shown at times, he could get to the hole and had enough size to convert down there, which is something obviously with Stevens. He's, again, there's trade-offs, right? You're not going to find many shooters like Steven. Both Steven and Lauren participated in the 3-point contest. Both went out, made through the first round and went out in the next round. Lauren, I felt so bad for her because she can probably in her sleep hit 15 out of 30, and all she had to do was make one more shot, and she'd have got to the final. And so it was so close. I felt so bad for her. But it was great showing by the Creighton crew, shooting some threes. Then Jemiah and Steven played in the NABC All-Star game. As the game was winding down, Jemiah, in true Jemiah form, went in for this incredible dunk that he didn't make, but the whole crowd went ooh odd because it was such a fantastic move. But
that's not shocking.
Yeah. So we should talk a little bit about the guys. We haven't talked about Mason Miller and Fred King going on to Murray State to join Coach Miller there. And off air, we just talked briefly about Fred. I mean, I just think there's going to be huge things for him in the Valley.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of bigs in the Valley that are Fred's size. So, Fred shows a lot of flashes. There were times where Fred, struggled, and I think for Fred, probably just improving his conditioning, his explosiveness, would be huge. And it was hard for Fred. Was in a really hard position. He knew he was only going in for like 90 seconds. I mean, it's hard for anybody to play with
Tough.
that type of
Really tough.
Those type of constraints. So yeah, I'm with you. I would be surprised if we're sitting here next year and Fred had a really, really average to below average season at Murray State. I think I'd be really shocked.
Yeah. And the other thing too, Fred really improved this year, I thought, was on the offensive end. He showed like you said, he showed some flashes on the offensive end, backing guys down and scoring and converting on those. And, the first thing I thought of was Fred going in the Valley. You think back to Gregory Echenike going, that basic size of guy. And it was really, remember, the Valley refs really had a hard time officiating him because he was so much bigger. It was almost like the old days of Shaq in the NBA, right? He'd blow on somebody and they'd fall over and then he'd get a foul and be like, what's the deal? But I think, players have gotten bigger since then and so forth. But still, it's something that Fred has to work on too, because he did pick up fouls at a pretty quick rate sometimes when he was in the game here.
No doubt.
Yeah. And then Mason, I just think Mason just needed to he just needs to hit the reset button. I told somebody from Murray State yesterday, I go, I don't know if you're going to see 45%, but I can guarantee you're not going to see 17% from three.
Yeah, no, he's a much better shooter than he obviously showed this year. It was a weird year for him, and I'm with you. I think it'll be a really good reset for him, and at a level where he can be a little bit more effective with his size as a wing. I won't mince words though. I mean, Mason, even at that level, Mason needs to put on weight. I mean, he does. He needs to get stronger, and he'll be a lot more effective once that happens. And but yeah, I wish those guys all the best of luck, and Coach Miller, and they were a part of some good teams here. I mean, there's no spinning it. I mean, they were part of some really, really good teams, and now you got to go bring home a Valley title. Back to Arch Madness they go.
I'm going, Ross. Already decided.
Good.
Not only Coach Miller, but that's the big thing, but then for Fred and Mason. But another guy that we know very well here at Blue Jay Banner was our NIL guy back when NIL started. Ben Schultzberg is joining Murray State as well.
Yeah, I'd seen that. I mean, good for Ben. It's
Ben was a super guy.
That's a heck of a change from Santa Barbara to Murray, Kentucky. I'll tell you that much. But hopefully he takes it well and in stride.
So apparently to get to Murray, you fly into Nashville and drive up about a couple hours. How you get there?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's off the beaten path, that's for sure. If you look at it on a map, I mean, it's not the biggest town, and it's kind of right smack dab in the middle of Kentucky, Tennessee, Western Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean,
it's really not very far from St. Louis. They're in that they're in that western fringe between Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee, all that in there. So, it kind of, when you look at Murray State, it kind of fits the Valley footprint, and it worked out great because then they got Belmont, so now they have like a natural rivalry, only being 2 hours apart. I mean,
sure.
It works out really well, that coupling of those two teams in the Valley. So
yeah, absolutely.
And looking forward to, hopefully they'll get a game at they have 12 teams, so they don't play a full round robin. So hopefully they'll come to Drake next year. It's just a 2-hour drive. We can go over and see how Murray State's doing. I want to briefly talk about baseball and softball, and then we'll jump into a little Final Four action tonight and wrap this up. Softball, much needed sweep. Got them back to 5-7 in the league. They swept this weekend, and they have a chance to at home again next weekend against Butler, where the weather is supposed to be much nicer. So, chance for them to get to 500 in the league, and they have a midweek game with Nebraska, who is nationally ranked. So that'll be a tough task to take on the Huskers. By the way, you mentioned Bryce Williams before. Crown champions, Nebraska.
Yeah, it's some of my Nebraska ball buddies. I think they're doing a good job towing the line, being like happy about it, / also kind of like realizing what it was, and kind of joking about it too. But yeah, they looked good. I mean, I looked at Asijan yesterday. He looked so good. And I'm like, God, man, where was this? I mean, Asijan played great against us. And then the rest of the year, he was so average. And it was like, God, man, where was this the whole year? Like they could have used this. Weird year for them. They went from looking very solid and like, hey, we got one of the best players in the Big Ten, and we're gonna ride him to the tournament, to all of a sudden not even making their own conference tournament. I mean, just one of the weirder years I can remember for them.
Yeah. My golfing buddy Kelly cheers for both, has season tickets for both Nebraska and Creighton, and he went to Vegas for the weekend.
There were tons of Husker fans there. It was nuts.
He loved it. He thought it was just great. And but one text he gave me, like you just said, he goes, man, this team is so frustrating and head scratching. Like, where was this when we played Iowa and Minnesota? Because I was talking with a bracketology buddy. He's like, this has quickly surpassed the NIT. I mean, look at the teams that were in there. It was all teams that were 2 weeks out were on the bubble of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the NIT, unless they implement something where they're going to start paying next year, which they need to look at. Otherwise, the NIT is just going to be a new CBI, where it's us all kind of low majors and mid majors. There's no other. They did the CBI this year, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I forget who was in the final. I saw that at one point. I didn't really pay much attention. I was watching the NIT. I was watching NIT because Coach Lutz was in there.
They got rid of the CIT, I think, didn't they?
Yes. Coach Lutz was one game away from a close game too at home, almost a buzzer beat. It was right down to the last second of getting into the Final Four of the NIT, which was played, by the way, people don't know this, it's played in Hinkle. It's not played at Madison anymore. So
yeah, that was a weird change, the Hinkle thing, but again,
but you
losing its luster.
You look at the crown though. Think about it. Villanova, Central Florida was on the bubble all year long. Nebraska was in till 2 weeks of the season. Gosh, there were so many teams in there. Cincinnati,
Butler, Boise State.
Yeah, Butler was never really in there. Boise State obviously was a team that people thought maybe got snubbed by the NCAA committee. Cincinnati was there all year long. I mean, there was a lot of teams that were right there all year long. So I think that tournament's just going to grow and grow. And then baseball. What a huge weekend. They take 2 of 3 from preseason favorite UConn. UConn's now 2-4 in the league. They played the 2 toughest teams right off the get-go. So they're 2-4. The Jays now 2-1 in conference. They take on North Dakota State tomorrow night out at Charles Schwab Field. And then this weekend they head to Seton Hall. Seton Hall's not very good. So chance for the Jays to go in there and take care of business and maybe get a sweep there. That'd be huge. A sweep on the road, go to 5-1, and really set themselves up for a great finish. Let's see, Wednesday night. Yeah, I'll be seeing Coach Service on Wednesday, so I'll get some more information on the baseball team. All right, well, what a game Saturday night, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe that happened. I mean, I was especially bitter. I had Duke in my survivor pool.
Oh.
And stood to win a good bit of change. So I was like despondent Saturday night after the game. I couldn't even believe what I just watched. But yeah, I'm still stunned. I mean, it feels like I know there's so many people that be like, well, they lost. Well, they didn't win. It's like, okay, I understand that. But Duke, like what I'm about to say is I preface that with Duke is the better team. They were just better. And I think everybody would have enjoyed a Duke-Florida final much more. I think the ratings would have been much better. Everyone would love to see Cooper Flagg in that game tonight. And they did. I mean, they choked. There's no other way to describe it. It stinks. So I guess they don't deserve to be there. I thought the over-the-back call on Cooper was so bad. Now,
really?
I thought it was horrible, Tim. And I've watched the replay multiple times. So bad. Now, having said that,
he grabbed his arm though, Ross. He grabbed his arm.
Kind of. It was like not.
And I don't think you could see.
It was.
I don't think you could see the backside. I think he was holding his other arm too. I think that's what it was.
Man, I don't know.
I don't know. I'll just say this: my buddy Kelly Miller Kerry Miller, writes for Bleacher Report, is a Duke fan. He was there. His press row seats were right in front of it, and he said it was a good call. So, and he's a Duke fan. So
I mean, listen, we can agree to disagree. I've watched the replay.
I watched it too. It's closer on the real time. I thought it was definitely foul. Replay, I was like, 50-50. But you know what? There was a lot of 50-50 calls, like that one that bounced off Knippel's foot, went out of bounds, and the refs totally missed it. You know,
that's Duke's version of the Ryan Nembhard foul. So, such
here's
as life.
the deal, though. Here's the deal. You can say that foul. They had a 60% free thrower going to the line.
That's true.
And he made them both.
True.
Not only that, there was more time left in the game. They had a chance to win the game.
Tyrese Proctor,
point
the front end of the 1-on-1. So no doubt they blew it. Houston's impressive. I mean, Kelvin Sampson. I mean, that's about as good of a coach in my lifetime as we're going to see at our level, and it's gone pretty unnoticed. I mean, people that really know the game and follow the game know how good he is, but it's I feel like to the casual fan, they don't really know what Kelvin Sampson's about. I mean, he's about as good of a coach that we've had in this game in decades.
I will agree with that. Duke might have been the better team, but Houston didn't play very well. I mean, they didn't hit the shots they normally hit. They weren't as intimidating inside as they normally are. Now, some of that was Duke's size as well. But I just think if you had the two teams playing well, I think that would have been a 3-4 point game somewhere in there. Not a 14-point game as it was. I just got upset a little bit because there was 8.5 minutes to go, and I thought, I think Houston's going to make one more run here.
I thought they'd make a little bit of a push, like you said.
And I thought the announcers were kind of just almost like, wow, this game's over.
Well, it got to 67-61, and they're coming down the floor with, there's about 30 seconds left, and I'm like, I still wasn't even that nervous though. I'm still like, we can get a stop here, or even if Duke fouls and they get to the free throw line and make a couple, it's still a 2-possession game. Well, then they bury the 3, and I'm like, oh boy. And then my heart just sank on the inbounds pass, and they threw the inbounds pass away. And the Wilson kid took the 3. I'm like, oh my God. And then of course followed it up with the dunk. And so even at that point, I'm like, okay, all right, we're okay. Like, this just, and Proctor misses. And that's when after the Proctor miss, that's when I said to myself, I go, I'm going to lose this thing. Talk about me in the survivor pool, but no, Duke's going to lose this thing. And sure enough. Yeah. And the other thing, my last thing I'll say about it is, everyone, it seemed like on social media, was killing Shire for the end of game play. And
I don't know what else he could do.
He got the ball. They got a great shot. He got the ball to the best player in the sport, who had killed all game.
Yeah. I thought it was over when he got the ball there. I thought it was over.
Yeah, he got a 12-footer, and he just missed it. So I don't understand why people were killing Shire about that.
Yeah, no. But I've said this, and I think I've said to you before too, Russ. I think the NCAA tournament, and it doesn't always happen, but it happens a lot, where the NCAA tournament identifies your weakness. Like, it gets drawn out. Like, for instance, Creighton, what was their weakness this year? Offensive rebounding, giving up offensive rebounds and turnovers, right? What happened in the second half of the Auburn game? Those things happen, and it's how you adjust and adapt to that and overcome that is how you do. And Duke, really, their only weakness was they hadn't played any close games. And how are they going to react in a close game? Well, once it gets to a one, like Kelvin Sampson said that, he goes, all we wanted to do was get that score close where all of a sudden they're going to feel some game pressure. Because when it's a 3-point game and Houston's down, look out. Here comes the full court pressure, and they are as good as anybody at it.
No doubt.
Then you're at a disadvantage at that point, So it'll be interesting tonight. Who do you think? You still like Florida?
I think Florida wins just because I think Florida's size is so great. Just like Duke has size, Florida has size, and Florida's physical. And Florida's got shot making. I would not be shocked if Houston won, though. It's obviously close to a pick 'em.
Well, they have the best player. Florida has the best player.
Florida has the best player.
Clayton's just unbelievable.
He's
But how's he gonna, again, Kelvin's a master at this. Like, how's he gonna defend him, and who's gonna defend him, and has he seen a defender like that this year, and on and on and on. The other thing too is you gotta remember Houston's they have a size advantage, Florida, but Houston's really long, man, and they can bring a wave of guys off that bench who are long, and so I like Houston tonight. I picked them the other night. Hey, I probably shouldn't have been correct on that one, but
it'll be a fun game.
All right, man. Well, hey, it's been great catching up with you. Hope you get out and play some golf here. It's getting nice. It's going to get nice this week.
I know we gotta get out. No doubt about it.
Got to get that grass growing a little bit. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to take next week off, but we'll be back with you in 2 weeks. We've had so much go on. Go to bluejaybanner.com. We'll cover everything there. And we're going to write a big article on the volleyball change today. And hey, get out and watch some baseball too when the Jays are in town. They're a really good team this year. So should be exciting. All right. Thanks, Ross.
Thanks.